What's going on, YouTube? I got both streams going on here. I appreciate you guys for coming in. Today, the story is going to be about Jeffrey Epstein. There's a breaking story I want to talk about, and then we'll see what's going on there. He's been in the news a lot, not just for what I'm about to share today, but there's been a lot of, negative or pretty bad press for Bill Gates and Epstein recently, which is interesting because for a long time that wasn't the case. We'll chat about it for a little bit. Second thing I want to talk about is mandatory Vs or mandatory jabs or inoculations, whatever you want to call it. The media has gone full-blown psychopath over, any sort of censorship around that topic. So I want to talk about it and if the Supreme Court's going to weigh in on it, because at a certain point, there's schools, there's travel, there's, cruise lines, and there's a lot of people that are pretty much trying to go full-blown mandatory with it, or at least guilt or threaten or basically say, if you don't do this, you can't come here. If you don't do this, you can't eat here. If you don't do this, you can't have a job here. If you can't, so my question is, and maybe you can help me answer it because I only know so much, is this going to get to the Supreme Court at a certain point? I would think it has to, because this is such a, pressing issue regardless of which side of it you're on. And I'm waiting for them to really weigh in on it. So that's what it's going to be. And the third story I want to talk about is Royal Caribbean. I like Royal Caribbean. I like cruises, and I'm disappointed because I'm actually I'm not going to say I'm a high member, but let's just say the boy's platinum. Okay. I get around, I cruise around Alaska, Cayman Islands. You might see me pop up on an island. And I called and I asked what their policy was today. And they said, there's going to be masks on the cruises. And I told them, I'm like, who wants to go on vacation with a mask? You get what I'm saying? Like, is this a vacation or is this a prison? It's like, I take naps, I do karaoke, I like to smile at people. One of my favorite things with cruises, you see families, you see grandmas, whatever. I'm all smiles. I'm Mr. Smiley. It's like, you're going to try to cover my face up on a cruise. So, I'm never going to sail with them again. And I think if enough people really hold their ground and say, listen, at a certain point, we have to get back to normal or else you're going to lose my business. I think that's what it is, because they're certainly losing mine. So I'm going to talk about that. And also, they are trying to pretty much threaten people with the vaccinations as well. So those are the three stories of the day. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We got over 2,000 people on Facebook. Thank you. We got 400 people on YouTube. I appreciate y'all. Algorithms go up and down, but it looks like a lot of people usually tune in. So I'm grateful for you being here. Thank you guys on Instagram, Telegram. You get it. I'm appreciative. So let's just get right into it since we got a lot of people. The first story today just broke like 18 minutes ago. It says, Jeffrey Epstein prison guards admit to falsifying records. The two Bureau of Prison workers tasked with guarding Jeffrey Epstein the night he killed himself in a New York jail have admitted they falsified records, but they will skirt any time behind bars under a deal with federal prosecutors. So I guess it's breaking that they admit they lied. And I think this is a pretty bipartisan issue. I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, you don't know anything about politics. I mean, it was pretty obviously sketchy. I mean, the dude, it's a high security prison. We just don't have the footage. And the guards fell asleep or they were searching for motorcycles. It's like, come on, guys. I mean, I don't think anybody believes that. And obviously something happened. Now the debate is what happened or who did what or whose fault is it? I can't tell you. I wasn't at the prison and that's not my job. It's way above my pay grade. But as far as like the prison guards admitting that they lied, it's like, yeah, I would assume that the highest level prison, maybe the highest level prisoner you guys have had in a while, that just nothing worked, everything malfunctioned. Like, oh man, I mean, I wish I could get that treatment. If somebody did something at a 7-Eleven, those cameras are good enough to not malfunction. But you're telling me a high security prison, they don't have multiple cameras that are high quality? I mean, come on, guys. Like, I don't think anybody's this stupid. But anyway, I'm interested with what's going on there because I feel like it's such a, I'm trying to think of the word, cornerstone. Maybe that's not the right word, but it's such an important topic that it seems like it spans everything. I don't know. I mean, I have an idea of what Epstein was doing like everyone else, but it just seems even bigger than people think because, I think it was this week I was reading an article with Bill Gates. And, I don't know what happened with his divorce. God bless Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're all over the world just, doing really nice stuff, whatever. But, I don't know what's going on. But all of a sudden, the media went from like loving Bill Gates and protecting Bill Gates and calling you a conspiracy theorist if you dare question the science of Dr. Bill Gates coming to save your life, to like hating Bill Gates. I mean, they smear him more than I do now. And I don't really smear him. I just tell the truth. And I look at like, books he told me to read, like How to Lie with Statistics. But, you had an article last week that I think I shared. It said, Bill Gates was allegedly or reportedly from the New York Post asking, Epstein if he could win a Nobel Prize. And I was like, is that how you win a Nobel Prize? You asked Jeffrey Epstein for a Nobel Prize? Like, something really dark is going on here, folks. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a Bill Gates, a foundation to figure out that, this Epstein guy was pretty dang powerful. If Bill Gates was going to him, one of the most powerful people in the world, being, allegedly, reportedly, I can't prove this, it's New York Post, but, saying, hey, can I win a Nobel Prize? So I think that's like he's like a kingpin of sorts. And if that situation really gets blown out of the water, then I think the world will start making a lot more sense. So it's not going to come from me. I don't have any deep intel. I'm just reading headlines. However, I do think it's interesting that the prison guards are admitting to falsifying records. And what I took is that, they did it to basically save themselves from going to prison. So it seems like a plea deal. Now my question is, what's going to happen with this? Ghislaine Maxwell, this is back in the news. Bill Gates is in the news for his Epstein connections. There's all sorts of gossip of what Melinda said. Does this mean that there's going to be something big soon? Or is this just another couple weeks for clicks and it's going to go away again? I don't have the answers. I don't know. Of course, I hope that justice is served, and I hope that, whatever this was gets fully exposed. But, I'm not a pessimist, but I've seen the trust the plan. It's like, yeah, I know what's going on. But at the same time, it's like, you Nikola Tesla's going to come back and Donald Trump's got a time machine and everyone's on Guantanamo. It's like, listen, I know we all want to see justice served, but, I'm done coming to the rodeo thinking it's going to happen every day. If it happens, that's awesome, but I won't get my hopes up. However, it does look pretty promising. The fact that this is all in the news, people are doing plea deals. Ghislaine Maxwell is doing her thing. And, Bill Gates, for the first time in a long time, is getting questioned by the media, which, they were saying you couldn't do a year ago. It's like, isn't that funny how everything they say you can't do, they just do it a year later? It's like on Facebook, they were censoring everybody for suggesting that this didn't come from a bat in the Wuhan lab. If you dare talk about gain-of-function research in Wuhan Institute of Virology, if you dare talk about the speculation of a lab leak theory, they censored you, banned you, silenced you, called you crazy. And then a year later, Robert Redfield, ex-CDC director, he comes out and says he thinks that that's a possibility. And now all of a sudden you're allowed to say it. It's like, my track record, not bragging, but has been pretty spot on with this whole pandemic. And their track record sucks. All they do is lie. All they do is cover up. All they do is censor. All they do is say you can't say it. And then a year and a half later, after they destroy 100,000 restaurants, after they treat people like prisoners and abuse show animals, and they abuse the elders and abuse the children and treat you like crap, then all of a sudden they're like, okay, maybe we can talk about it now. It's like, you think so? Thanks, Facebook. Thank you so much for allowing me to speculate on something I already knew a year ago that you wouldn't allow me to. Whatever. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but let me know what you think in the comment section. Me, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, it's happening. But at the same time, between this, the Bill Gates articles and the Epstein prison guard plea deal or whatever, I don't know. If any time for this to come out, maybe that case is so big that it will come out eventually. I'm not quite sure, but that would be, I think, really good for humanity to figure out what the heck is going on. Because clearly, if the most powerful people that I know were looking to this guy for advice and help and all this sort of stuff, he must have really been running the show to some extent. And I wonder what you guys think. Is this just another, smoke and mirrors, or is something actually going to happen from this? Let me know in the comment section. I'm not like rhetorically asking. I literally have no idea. Second thing I want to talk about, to me, this is the most important topic in the country right now, one of them. And I'm shocked that, obviously Democrats are on the wrong side of this one, in my opinion, but I'm just shocked that Republicans, like most of them, are doing very, very little. I would say maybe Ron DeSantis seems like he's doing the most legally and, rhetoric wise, and the rest are just wildly underwhelming me, because you can't conserve anything if you don't talk about medical tyranny. You're not conserving the First Amendment. You're not going to conserve freedom. You can't conserve the free market. You can't conserve capitalism. You can't keep taxes low. You can't, lower the deficit. If you don't get to the bottom of this pandemic and medical tyranny, there's nothing you're going to conserve. So the fact that like very few Republicans even talk about this just shows me, no offense, how useless they are. And they're just like circus It's like, yeah, we get it. Okay, haha, yeah, build a wall. Okay, I get that. I'm just saying, it's like focus on the medical tyranny, because at this point in time, I'm not trying to exaggerate, but I'm like a serf. I'm a bougie serf. I call myself a bougie free range slave. Like, listen, I'm doing okay, but at the same time, I'm like a shell of what I once was. It doesn't matter how much money I have. I'm like a second tier citizen at this point, because there's things that I just can't do anymore. If I want to go to the Yankee game, I don't want to wear a mask. That's a personal. I'm done wearing a mask. I mean, if I have to fly, unfortunately, that's all I could do. But it's like, I don't want a PCR test jammed up my nose. I'm reading the book from Kary Mullis. He's the inventor of the PCR test. I've probably done more research on the PCR test, the invention, the founder who created it, how it works, than 99.9% of these journalists who just yell and they're like, I need to put it in your arm. It's like, just shut up, lady. But anyway, no, jokes aside, not joking. I don't want a PCR test shoved up my nose, and I certainly don't want forced inoculation. It's just not my thing. I'd rather work out, eat well, stay off of pharmacy pills and products, but to each their own. Listen, there's good medicine out there for everybody. It's just not for me. However, I'm no longer free. I'm no longer like a first tier citizen. I can't go on a cruise. I think I have 4 free cruises or something. I don't know. They keep shelling out free cruises. Maybe it's because the boy likes to hang out at the casino sometimes. So they're like, Anomaly, come back and lose money. But I'm like, listen, who says I'm losing? I'm out here just, who knows, playing slots. I'm having a good time. Karaoke. I love cruises. Anyway, I'm trying to claim my free cruises, and I can't even do that. I can't go to certain hotels. I'm now like a second tier citizen. I can't go to sports games. That's what we live in. So my question is the Supreme Court going to weigh in on this? I don't know the answer, but I can kind of get to where we're at. And a lot of people hit me up and they say, Anomaly, my work is forcing me. The military is forcing my husband. I'm not a medical advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a legal advisor. I don't know what to do. All I can do is really read some stuff for you. And then at that point, it's really up to you. It's your life. It's your husband's life. How serious are you about it? What do you want to do? How far do you want to take it? Really, that's on you. But I do know that fact checkers are saying that they can force you. And I would say from all my research, I'm going to read some now, it's murky waters. I think this is also new. There is no recent Supreme Court case. This has not been, there's not enough lawsuits that got to a high enough level in the modern era to really decide this. So all of this stuff is really new. If me personally, I'll just say what I would do. No one has forced me yet. I mean, Royal Caribbean, I'm going to talk about that later. They're trying to essentially force me or say I can't go on. I'm handling that. I'm calling their customer service. I'm talking to their PR on social media. I'm saying, you've lost my service. That's what I'm doing. They don't owe me anything. I don't owe them anything. I'm done. Okay. And I'm going to make it public. As far as an employer, I don't know what I would do, but if an employer tried to force vaccinate me and say, Anomaly, if you don't get a vaccine, you can't use Facebook, I would have to be done with Facebook. I love Facebook. I have 1.5 million followers. I've got 600 million views. I make a fair amount of money on Facebook. But if those were the options, even with all I'm making, I don't want to do it. I don't want to play a lottery. I don't want, French fries from McDonald's. I don't want Krispy Kreme. I don't want to be bribed. I don't want to be threatened. I've made that decision morally, ethically, scientifically, physically. I'm not doing that. And I don't disrespect anyone who do. But I wouldn't do it. So I don't know what I would do if I forced with that thing. Maybe I would talk to lawyers. Maybe I would try to pave the way for the Supreme Court case, because that's just how I feel. On that note, there was a Supreme Court case in 1905. It's called Jacobson versus Massachusetts, where the court's decision articulated the view that the individual liberty is not absolute and is subject to the police power of the state. Somebody that was smart emailed me, and I actually do read my emails, but don't email me because I have 1,000 emails. I hate emails, but thank you. Someone said, Anomaly, you always talk about Jacobson versus Massachusetts. And he was trying to tell me that even though they said it was mandatory in 1905, that the fine, it was a fine. You just paid a fine. So, although they ruled that you can be mandatory vaccinated in that state, the penalty was a fine. It wasn't forced inoculation. So thank you for that email. It is true. And, that case is so old and so specific, it needs to be revisited. So I'm guessing that at a certain point, if our Supreme Court actually functions, they're going to weigh in on a modern case, and that case is going to determine whether we are allowed to be force inoculated by our work, our business, whatever it is, our schools or not. And if your kids or your family will. And the Washington Post, believe it or not, actually, I think covered it somewhat accurately, not always, but in this one, this is Washington Post from recently. It says, most employers shy away from mandating coronavirus vaccines, while scores of colleges and a handful of travel companies have made the shots compulsory. Others hold back, fearing backlash and lawsuits. So they pretty much covered it from both angles and said, there are schools, there are businesses who are forcing vaccine. There are others that are afraid of lawsuits. So this is the dynamic we're going through, folks. It's really what you put up with, and it's really what you're giving to do. If you live in a city or a state or a town where 90% of people don't want to wear the masks and they don't, the mask mandate would be over because they wouldn't be able to enforce it. In a lot of areas, the sheriff said, I'm not going to enforce these laws. I find them unconstitutional and inhumane. So it's really what you want to put up with. So when it comes to forced vaccination, it's the same thing as forced masks. In Texas and Florida, in a lot of areas, it's gone. In other corporations, it's still there. It's really how much service will they lose? How many people will comply? It's still in the works. But if, 60% or 50 or 40% of the population says, hey, no disrespect, I don't want to get the vaccine. No, if you want it, that's awesome. I just don't want to. And you're going to lose my service. I'm not going to work for you. Eventually, people are not going to be able to function. But if 95% of society says, you know what, I'll do it if I have to, or I'll let you fire me and there'll be no repercussions legally, then they'll keep doing it. So, I'm not a legal advisor, a physical advisor, a medical advisor, none of the sorts, but that's really where we're at. So there are companies that are afraid of doing mandatory vaccines because they're afraid of lawsuits. Others aren't afraid. So, I'm guessing there's probably hundreds of lawsuits going out now against it, and that will decide our future. How many people cave? How many people step up? How many people give in? How many people get washed away and never fight back legally? And how many people take it to court? How good is your lawyer? What's the law? What's the rule? Who's the judge? Do you win? Do you lose? How expensive is it? There's a risk in anything. There's a risk in getting fired. There's a risk in, getting it. And then, unfortunately, the risk is on you because the companies who make the product have legal immunity from liability. So they don't really have risk, which is fascinating, but it's all to be decided. So my question's kind of open-ended. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but will the Supreme Court weigh in on this? I think at a certain point, what's the legality of it? You could check fact checkers on Facebook. You could read Washington Post. You could read Fox. The truth is, from what I've gathered, is it's all being determined as of now, what is legal and what is not. So some companies are trying. Some companies aren't. Some companies are afraid of lawsuits. Some companies aren't afraid of lawsuits. Some cruise lines are fighting with Ron DeSantis, and it's all being decided. DeSantis is suing the CDC. The CDC is putting out guidelines, but the guidelines aren't law. But certain, depends where you're at. If you're in a Democrat area, who is the Senate, or rather, I guess, what the laws are in your certain state. Because people don't remember this. Real quick before I move on. In 2019, there was a big battle among the medical community of vaccinating children and removing religious exemption from vaccinations. I believe in California, New Jersey, New York. These were the areas before the pandemic that were really trying to force vaccinate or take away your religious exemption from vaccination. And I would say there was a huge pushback in the medical community. There was a huge pushback in, the religious Christian community to some extent, and also the Hasidic Jewish community seemed to be leading the way as far as religious exemptions for not wanting to get them. And that was the whole thing. So I found it fascinating that they always wanted to do forced vaccination. And after the pandemic, they finally got enough public support and enough fear to really implement that to the whole country. I just find that fascinating. Like 4 or 5 months right after they were already trying to do that. Very interesting timing, to say the least. But that's where we're at. So what to do? I don't know. For me, I'm moving on to the third story, and this is what I'm doing in my life. So, I love cruises. I talk about it all the time. I just think it's a great vacation. I love being on the boat. I love getting off the boat. I like the casino. I like the karaoke. I like the pool lounge. I like the dance hall. I like it all. I love cruises. I love the food. I love the buffet. I'm a cruise fan. I went on 3 last year. 2 of them were actually free. I love it. And I got to take family members, friends. I was going to go on probably 20 cruises the rest of my life. I love it. And once the pandemic hit, they shut them down. Now that they're reopening, I called today. I'm actually like a platinum member. I'm not trying to brag, but listen, the boys connected. But I called and I just asked. I said, "Hey, I'm just curious. What's your mask policy? Because I think I have like 2, 3, 4 free cruises. I don't know. They're just handing them out like hotcakes. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm not going to complain." So I'm like, "Okay, let's see what's going on." And she said, "Well, whoever I talked to at the customer service for Royal Caribbean said, we do have masks in certain areas, or we are enforcing a mask policy." And I said to her, just like I'm on live stream, I said, is this a vacation, or is this like a prison on water? Like, you're gonna, I like to smile, I like to talk, I like to communicate. You're gonna try to cover up my face, my breathing holes, my smile on vacation? It's not a vacation. I was like, who in their right mind would want to sail with you? If you're doing this, that's not fun. It's stressful. It's anxiety ridden. It ruins cruises. And cruises always wash your hands. They tell you a million times, because yeah, you're on a boat, you're in closed cases. It's fine. If you're afraid, stay home, but whatever. So I told her, I said, you lost my service. Who knows how much money I would have spent over the next couple of years, tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know, but I will never spend another dollar with you again until you remove this. So if enough people did that, they wouldn't be able to stay in business, and they would have to change their rules to something more humane. However, now you have, I don't know if it's half, but half the population is afraid of people breathing air. Half the population doesn't want to be masked. It's now a new left to right, black to white, red to blue, mask, unmask. It's become like a political issue, although it should be a scientific one. You have liberals who say, I want to wear my mask for years because I'm afraid of looking like a Republican. Do you care about the science? They don't care about the science. It's like a new thing for them. It's like Black Lives Matter. I wear a mask. It's like their identity, which is creepy because it's actually taking away their identity. It's taking away their face and their nose. And it's just like a temporary thing. You want to make it your whole life now? It's ridiculous. So that's what I'm doing on a personal level. I'm not doing it. And I will voice my big mouth everywhere I go and let any restaurant, any business. And I've been doing this for months. If I go to a restaurant and they tell me to sit down outdoors, I walk outdoors, I sit to my seat. Sometimes they say, hey, can you wear a mask to walk 5 steps outdoors? Oh, yeah. I'm like, what's the science behind that? I have to wear a mask to walk in an outdoor patio 5 steps. People comply. They get away with this and they inch further because people just let them do it. It's like, if you have no honor, if you have no courage, if you have no bravery, then you're going to get conquered by somebody who has honor or doesn't have honor and is brave enough to do this to you. So it's like, at what point do people stand up for themselves peacefully, responsibly? But no matter how big of a mask fanatic you are, you can't convince me that it's scientifically proven that if you put on a mask for 5 or 6 seconds to walk 10 steps outdoors to sit at a patio, you're going to save a life. This is insane. This is tyrannical. This is like slave treatment. It's embarrassing. It's dehumanizing. It's demoralizing. I don't do it. And I talk to the restaurant. So instead of acting like it's cool, I tell them it's not cool. And unfortunately for them, I know a lot because I study and I'm able to do this full time. So I'm not the one to mess with because I know way too much. So I'll sit there, have a conversation with them. You're treating people like animals. You're treating people like abuse show animals, and you need to stop. And you're hurting elderly people because when you treat them like this, you raise anxiety and you raise fear. And when you isolate them, their bones and their body wears down. And when you treat children like this, you're brainwashing them to be afraid of everything. And now they're playing with their masks on, and now their masks are all disgusting. And most parents know that their kids' masks are disgusting. You could see it when they come home from school. It's disgusting. What do you think happens when you have disgust all over a piece of cloth and you jam it in front of your face? You're making your kid less healthy. I mean, if it's clean, that's one thing, but kids aren't clean. So it's like taking a dirty, disgusting napkin that your kid played with on the playground for an hour, and instead of throwing that napkin in the trash because it's disgusting, you're putting it over their breathing holes. It's abuse. It is abuse. So this is what I say to restaurants. Like, now you need to hear the truth. You guys are lying. You guys are hurting people. I'm going to stand here and tell you the truth. So that's what I can do. Whether it's a cruise line, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a business, whether it's a politician, I am not bowing. I'm not going to live my life as a second-tier serf or a second-tier citizen. And if I do, by God's grace, I will voice my perspective about it as loud as possible and as wide as possible for as long as I'm able to do so, regardless of the consequences, because that's how I feel. I don't care the price. I'm not living like a serf for 20 years. And the more you give up, the more they take. So Royal Caribbean, this is probably going to get over 100,000 views between both social media. I'm a loyal customer. I only had nice things to say. Besides the fact, just to be honest, Royal Caribbean, one of your employees broke my microphone, and you guys were really giving me a lot of stuff trying to like, oh, we didn't do it. You took my microphone before the cruise, and then they broke it, and you were acting like you didn't break it. That was a little weird. But besides that, I had a great experience, and now I'll never use you again. So if enough people are like, stop treating us like, who wants to go on vacation with a mask? And I'm just going to read real quick, and then we're going to move on, and I'm going to end with something positive. This is from Royal Caribbean's press release today. I follow them on Twitter, and I will keep mouthing off to them until they block me. It says travelers can plan their Alaska cruise with peace of mind, knowing that all crew members and vacationers 16 years of age or older will be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and everyone 12 or older as of August 1st. So every member of the crew over 12 or 16 will be vaccinated at a certain point. That's not impressive to me. That's abusive. Royal Caribbean, you're abusive. You're forcing people in their 20s and their teens and their 30s and their 40s to get the Moderna, the Pfizer, the Johnson & Johnson, none of which have been FDA approved. They've all been emergency use authorized. The vaccine companies, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, they have no liability for anything that happens, injury, side effect, or death. And I'm not saying it's that common, but they know it happens. That's why they protect themselves from liability. If you want me to get it and you want to force me to get it, here's a few things that would make me want to get it more. And Candace Owens actually covered this brilliantly on her show or on her Instagram. She named a lot of these things, but it's like, listen, Johnson & Johnson was in court over their baby powder. Reuters even reported that Johnson & Johnson had asbestos in their baby powder and they knew about it. That's Reuters, okay? That's not me saying that. You can Google what I just said, Reuters. You find the article. I'm not reporting this. Reuters is. So they're already in court when they do have liability. Pfizer is settled out. I've seen a few, articles talking about foreign bribery, 50, 60 million. I forget how much it was. They settled out, and there's all this other stuff. I mean, these are not they don't have the greatest flawless track record. I'm not saying all their products are bad, but when they do have liability, it's not an 100% batting average. When they don't have liability, it doesn't matter. I mean, you can't sue them if something goes wrong. I find that very alarming. If my car was like that, I wouldn't buy the car. If my food was like that, I wouldn't eat the food. There's nothing on this planet that I would buy with that type of deal, that I would put in my body. So, that's why they love those products so much, is because it's a cash cow. They have no liability. I mean, imagine being able to do that, force everybody to do it. And then you have Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, and mainstream media covering up any stories about it. I'm not saying it's common, but they absolutely know that it's not a one size fits all approach. And there are going to be people who have bad experiences. They know that. That's why they protect themselves from liability and set up stuff like the NCVIA and the PrEP Act and all these compensation funds to say, we know it happens. We protect ourselves when it happens. And then we use our media power to tell everybody that it doesn't happen and smear people who talks about it happening. So Royal Caribbean are not heroes for forcing all of their staff members and people on the boat to do that. They're disgusting, and history will remember them as tyrants, authoritarians, and to be quite frank, psychopaths. So I will never go on the ship again with that policy. I'll never go on a ship again with a mask policy. I'm not going on vacation to wear a cloth over my breathing holes where I can't smile at people. You guys are sick. You guys are evil and twisted. I don't know if it was hating Trump or hating Republicans or believing Fauci or the CDC. I don't know what got you to this point of being so wicked, so immoral, so devious, so degenerate, so evil, hurting kids, hurting elders, and then acting like you're helping them. Oh yeah, let's isolate grandma for a while. These people are disgusting. And I'll tell you a fact real quick before we end that they won't talk about that. I might just share this every week for the rest of the year. Here's 2 articles that say everything you need to know about the deaths per capita and the death rate in the world. This is CNBC. It says CDC study finds about 78% of people hospitalized for COVID were overweight or obese. That's about 4 out of 5 people that were hospitalized for COVID were obese. I'm guessing, I can't prove this, but the elderly and the obese are the 2 communities that it affects, because when you're elderly, when you're 80 or 90, I can't play basketball anymore because my bones in my body won't allow it. It's the same thing with viruses and diseases. It's harder for your body to handle a disease at 80 or 90, and it's harder for your body to handle a disease when you're obese, because it's like carrying a bunch of weight on all your organs in your body. That's just standard. And this one is maybe even more shocking. This is CNN, by the way. COVID-19 death rates 10 times higher in countries where most adults are overweight, report finds. The big problem we have in this world, or we have an obesity problem. Our country's unhealthy, and when you're obese, you're going to be at risk for anything. So instead of telling us to work out, they told us to lock down, isolate. And then you see all these articles saying, New York Post put out an article today or yesterday, and it's like, oh, the wealthy did really well during the lockdown. Duh. They don't care. You think they care about your grandma or your kids or your health? They don't care if you get 10 times as fat. As long as you eat a Krispy Kreme donut, as long as you get in line for their product, as long as you're obedient to their media and their politicians, they don't care how fat you are. They don't care how sick you are. They don't care how overweight and, at risk for multiple diseases you are. That's more money for the pharmacy industry. So they could care less about people getting fit. Because if everybody worked out 5 times a week and we did mandatory workouts instead of lockdowns, you probably could have saved more lives. But the problem is that doesn't give power to politicians, and that certainly doesn't give money to the industry that makes a lot of money off everybody being on pills and opioids and, heart pills. I mean, that's all they do. How do people not know that this is like a sick cycle that they put us in? I read earlier, I'm just going to find it real quick on my Twitter, the CEO of Netflix, I believe, let me find the exact thing. The CEO of Netflix gave about, Reed Hastings was reported by Jeremy B. White, that he gave about $3 million to the recall defense of Gavin Newsom. So $3 million from Netflix to Gavin Newsom. Here's a little connection I thought of in my mind. Who benefits when the country locks down? Do I benefit financially? Actually, believe it or not, minus the censorship, I do, because I'm a tech company, but I have a soul, and I don't just want to, it's not all about me and my finances, but I work on the internet. So this doesn't really affect me that much, minus all the crazy censorship. But, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Amazon, these countries explode because they're taking out their competition. If you could go to a concert or a jazz night, then you might not be sitting at home watching Netflix. You might not be ordering on Amazon. So when the lockdowns happen, they're gaining power, they're gaining control, and they're taking out their competitors. So I'm not surprised that the Netflix CEO likes Gavin Newsom. He's one of the most pro-lockdown politicians in the country. And the more you lock down, the more people are stuck at home. The more people are stuck at home, the more people, work for Netflix. And you're naive if you think that's not how politics works. Why do you think George Soros gives so much money to left-wing causes? Why do you think Sheldon Adelson gives so much money to right-wing causes? Why does the pharmacy industry dole out billions of dollars over the course of decades? Why does the military industrial complex and, big oil or whoever you want to blame, why do you think they give money to politicians? Do you think they really care about you? Some people do, but most times they pay to play. If I give $100 million to Trump, maybe he'll do what I want in Jerusalem. If I give $50 million to this politician, maybe he'll pass the bill that helps us. And that's the whole American society. You used to have restrictions and regulations are supposed to help the people and stop corporations from taking over. But at a certain point in time, billionaires and corporations paid so much money to politicians and lobbyists and big business that they now get things in their favor, crush the people, give billions of dollars to these politicians, and they'll place all these sort of laws that benefit a few conglomerates and destroy all their competition. That's been happening for decades. And with this pandemic, it's not a theory that it's happening. It is happening. Just look at the books. Who gained power? Who gained money? Who lost power? Who lost money? The politicians gained money and power, or at least power, more than they've had in decades. And the tech companies are taking over. They have now gained so much more power because everybody's stuck on the computer and a cell phone because nothing's open in the real world. So obvious. But, I'm going to end on this note, a positive one. For a year, we had our freedoms taken away. We had more freedom. We lost more ground, not under Biden. Biden's not helping, but under Trump. Republican Senate, that's when we lost more freedom than under Obama, Clinton, and Bush. Hard pill to swallow, but true. We lost more freedom than we ever have, and we've been going backwards. And finally, for the first time in a while, although they're trying to do mandatory this and that, we're starting to come back and gain our freedom again. We're starting to be able to go to the gym in certain liberal areas. You're starting to be able to go here and go there. So after a year of losing our freedom, we're fortunate because honestly, I don't even think we deserve it. I think I deserve it. I think people who watch my channel deserve it. But the country, I don't even think we deserve it back. I think it was pathetic what people did, and we should thank our tech and political overlords for even letting us have this power back, because we could easily be like Canada and no one would do anything about it. So I'm grateful that they're even giving it back. But we're actually getting freedom back. My optimistic take on this is, while we're getting our freedom back, let's keep going the distance. While we have momentum getting our freedom back, we need to push for 100% freedom. Don't salivate over Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump, especially not Trump. At least DeSantis is doing something. Trump is Mr. Vaccine, Moderna, Pfizer, I did it, FDA. He's a total clown. I unsubscribed from him on email. It's like, dude, if I want to hear about how great Moderna is, I'll just follow Bill Gates' social media. I don't need Trump to act like Bill Gates. I'm over it. But in general, it's like, tell them to do more. They had no problem giving away your freedom, and now they're acting like they can't figure out how to get it back. That's my thought, is like, while we have momentum, let's get it all back. And let's not be like, both parties play good cop, bad cop. They took away like 50% of our freedom, and then they give you like 20% back, and we're supposed to just clap like seals. Like, no, thank you, Ron DeSantis. I appreciate what you're doing, but everybody should be doing that. Texas, Nebraska, every Republican in power should be doing that and more. You guys had no problem taking away everything in 15 days to slow the spread, and now all of a sudden it's a struggle to get like half of what you took away back. You guys need to give it all back. And if you're not, I'm not interested. That the new blueprint of the Republican Party is what Ron DeSantis is rolling out. Why is he so popular? Let all these Republicans know. Don't act like they're cool when they're not. Let them know Ron DeSantis is more popular than you now, because he's fighting for freedom harder. I think he could go even harder, but that's the blueprint. If you're not willing to do at least 80% of what Ron DeSantis is doing, you're not the right guy for the job. Even Trump included. It's like, you need to let someone else get up there, because we don't need to hear about how you rush the FDA and how cool it is. We need somebody to fight for children in schools, someone to fight, or at least legally, challenge the cruise industry on all their wicked ways. And that's got to be the Republican Party. If you guys can't fight and we can't fight medical tyranny, what can you conserve? All they can conserve is their fake little puppet show where they act like they're doing something. I'm so over it. So that's the positive, optimistic take. I know I sound a little naggy, but it's like, we have momentum with the freedom going into summer. Let's drive it home and be like, listen, I want all the freedom back. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not a slave. I'm not a prisoner. I'm not an abused show animal. I'm not a serf. I'm not going to be a third-tier citizen. And I'm going to yap my mouth and do as much as I can to challenge everybody that's taking my stuff away while I do it. And if tens of millions of people do that to their politicians, to the businesses, to the corporations, eventually they're going to have to reverse course. And they're getting desperate. They're doing lottery tickets, this and that, claiming they want to wear the mask for another 2 years because they don't want you to be a Republican. These people need to be shamed respectfully, but like, you're wearing a mask because you don't want to seem like a Republican. Like, do you have no morals? Like, what? I don't not wear my mask because I want to look like I'm not left wing. I don't do it because I like to breathe air. I like to smile. I've shaken 1,000 hands. I've gone to South Dakota. I've gone to Arizona. I've traveled all over the place. I've gone on multiple vacations. I've shook literally thousands of hands, and I haven't been sick once. I haven't even caught the common cold, because if you look at all of the hospitalization rate, it's mostly obese. I don't have 200 extra pounds just lagging around my body. So, I'm better off handling stuff, and my immune system is probably good because I eat well, and hopefully I have good genetics. I don't know, but in general, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to live my life in fear and isolation. So if enough people get that energy and stop complying and just bowing down and playing 50-50, I see this as we're getting our full freedom back. And there needs to be some sort of justice somewhere. I don't know if it comes from Fauci or Epstein, or I don't know what's going to happen there. And I'm not a lawyer and I'm not in the courts, so that's not my job. But as an American citizen, with my First Amendment right, that's not even really in existence anymore, my platform that I never know if they're even going to let me have it, but while I do, I'm going to keep saying the truth. I'm going to keep, speaking my mind and trying to elevate other voices who speak theirs, because, it's not healthy to do what they're doing. And, it's just not in my DNA to allow them to do that to me. And I feel like if enough people felt that way, and like they do, we will succeed. We're on the right side. And at a certain point, people are going to have to stop physically, mentally, and psychologically abusing everybody because this is not sustainable. And this was never supposed to last more than 15 days. And even after the 15 days, it was never supposed to include masks. It's just gotten worse and worse. Now we're getting our freedom back. Let's go the distance. Let's keep it up. Let's take that momentum and ride it back to full freedom. Let's not relapse into whatever the heck that was last year, because I'm not trying to deal with it. Appreciate y'all. I'll read a few comments and questions, and then I'm going to go enjoy my night and enjoy my weekend. Thank you to everybody signing up on my free email list, stayintouchwithme.com. Thank you to everybody on my Telegram chat, Dream Rare Chat, or t.me/DreamRareChat. If you guys like the God Bless hats I always wear, it's dreamrare.com, like my Instagram, or godblesshats.com. I'm a man of many hats, and I have godblesshats.com because I'm a domain guy. I want that domain. I want that domain. It's like a cruise. I like cruises. I like domains. Godblesshats.com. Get your God Bless hat at godblesshats.com. Dreamrare.com, dreamrare.com. You get it. It's fun. Stayintouchwithme.com. Isn't that fun? Stayintouchwithme.com. You get to the free email list. Nothing like a good domain, folks. Thank you, False Faces. I appreciate you. Appreciate everyone. Let's see. I'll answer a few questions or comments. If you guys have anything cool to say, I'll try to read them. Maybe I'll look at the stars on Facebook. Let me see. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Tris. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, MD. Thank you, Brandy. Said, I love your info. Thank you, Desi. Thank you, Chuck. It's a lot. Let's see. How do I put that down? Got it. Star comments. Let me see if I can find your comments. It might not let me. I don't know. Facebook's been glitching for me. They're trying to update their system or something. They got some new app, or I don't know what they're doing. So it's been very glitchy for me. Someone said 2 Amish for the gulag. Yeah, shout out to the Amish. I don't know what they're doing, but it seems awesome. Yeah, the Amish are just like, that's a real vibe. Just doing their thing, churning their butter. Everyone laughed at them, but now they're like, what pandemic? They're like, we're just chilling. All right, let's see what's going on Facebook. I don't even know if I could see comments anymore. They're just messing with me. I guess I'm gonna have to read comments on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going on the Facebooks. What do I think of the new commission? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Sorry. All right, I apologize. I can't see anything on Facebook. I'm trying to like read comments, but there are no comments. It's been crazy glitchy. Nobody's really asking good questions on YouTube. I'll read this one real quick. Mike said, I just emailed Royal Caribbean customer service and told them that we're finished until they change their policies. Damn, that felt good. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I told him on the phone. I told him on Twitter. And I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, listen, it's vacation, where at a certain point, like if we're this neurotic, it's called like neurotic. They always told you to wash your hands on cruises because, yeah, you could get sick on vacation. But at a certain point, it's just being too neurotic. It's there. Get the test. It's like, just leave me alone. If you're that afraid, just stay home forever. But that's not healthy. It's like, we can't live this way. And the coronavirus, the COVID-19, even with all the data and the statistics that they're telling us, like none of this is justified at all. Not with the death rate, not with the spread rate. You know, the way they're counting, it's like they're just so desperate to scare everybody into submission and isolation. They have to drop this stuff. And, you know, this is maybe my last message and I'm going to take off. I called my buddy today. He's one of my best friends growing up. And I would say he's fair. And that's why we're able to still be friends, vice versa. I'm pretty fair. But he's definitely more liberal. And he told me, and he was like, man, you were right. Cause we talked about this like the first week of the pandemic, maybe 15 days of slow spread. And I told him, I was like, dude, this is not going away. This is like just the beginning. And he was like, I thought you were wrong. And, he was like, you were right about that. It's a year later and it's getting worse. So it felt nice to have one of my friends that's more left leaning, like give me credit. Cause a lot of them probably hate me and just don't even want to talk to me and are wearing masks or something, but he's more fair. And I mean, we always got along even when we disagreed. So I appreciate him, but he was like, man, he's like, you were right about the pandemic. I was like, dude, I saw this coming from a mile away. And it's not a theory. I mean, obviously there's a theory, but you just have to listen to these people speak. Like, I know some people get carried away, some accounts get carried away, but I mean, I'm not a dummy. I do my research. I've years of experience of like, not like it's so special, but I watch a lot. I read a lot. I don't just listen to people talk about Bill Gates. I listen to Bill Gates. I've watched hours of footage of him talking. I know exactly what he thinks. He tells you exactly. So it's like when I see all this rolling out, I'm like, yeah, this is not going away. Because they've already told people what they think, their worldview, what they think about population growth, and where they want to go in the next 5 years of control, whether it's climate change or healthcare. They're telling you. It's just, I know people want to ignore it, but when it hits you in the face, it's like it's unignorable. And I think to wrap it up, a lot of people, regardless of politics, they're trying to play it safe, and I understand why. Who wants to lose their job? Who wants to not go on vacation? Who wants to be socially isolated? Who wants to feel like they're a terrible person? Who wants to risk their kid not being able to go to public school? There's so much at stake that I totally understand why people are hesitant. And I'm not a life coach or anything. I don't want to tell anyone what to do because everyone's unique. They have their own experiences, their own family, their own city or state, how they want to operate. Some people want to stay, some people want to leave. Do you? I'm in no condition or in no position to tell anybody what to do. That's not what I'm doing. But I do think, this is just my opinion, that the more you comply, the more they do. It's like, the more you bow down, the more they expect you to bow down. The more you follow their order, the more orders they give you. So that's just how I feel about it. Everybody has a line in the sand of like, okay, that's too far for me personally. I don't want to do that. I've taken my line in the sand, and it's up to everybody. But I do think that's the one thing I can say is like, if you watched me since March or April or May, like I don't know everything, but I try to give people the data, both sides of the story, and then be like, listen, this is not going away. Like once you give up your freedom, you're not getting it back that easily. Once you brainwash people to think that this is healthy to scare everybody and isolate, they're not going to stop overnight. It doesn't matter if the CDC tells them to or not. Like they might be permanently conditioned this way. So if you keep following their demands when you know it's just completely insane, it's only going to get worse. And even if it's something so small, like for me, I'm not even talking indoors. Okay, if you walk indoors and you wear a mask, it's not my thing. However, when restaurants that I've been to 10 times, I've been there, I've eaten there. They've never told me to wear a mask because I don't eat indoors sometimes. I eat outdoors. So I'm at an outdoor table. After 10 times of going there, and now they want me to wear a mask to walk outdoors, I'm going to push back respectfully and be like, you're psychos. You're out of your mind. I will never eat here again. You just lost thousands of dollars of service. And if enough people did that, they'd stop treating people crazy because this isn't even a state rule. They don't have to do this. I know people who have restaurants, indoor, outdoor. It's been open for 7 months. They're fine. This is just psycho employees and psycho owners just flexing their power. And the more people who do it, the more they do it. So it's like, where are you going to draw your line in the sand? If you're one of these people that just wants to be like, I'll put on the mask to walk 5 steps outside. I mean, I get it. I know you want to eat there, but it's like, if you can't even take a stand when you can eat at 40 different restaurants, how in the world are you going to take a stand when it matters the most? Like, this is the thing that I think to myself, where I don't tell people what to do, but I see people complying to the dumbest, least scientific rules, even if masks work fantastically, even if they stop the spread. You're going to tell me that you can sit outdoors and wear one until your food comes, or you got 100 people indoors without masks on and the staff has to wear masks and you have to wear masks to walk to your table? What's the science of air and spread? It makes no sense. So if you comply to things like that, you're now aiding and abetting upside down world. So you can't complain. I don't care what your politics are. You can't complain when you are supplying the upside down clown world that they give. So that's just my thoughts, where I would never tell anyone what to do. But if I thought you could comply and give in and just listen to everything they say and they leave you alone, that's fine. But after a year of watching what they do to the fully vaccinated, still wear a mask, still do this, still do that, wait, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. It's like, at what point do people realize that complying to what they say does not give you your freedom back? It just rolls out the next theme of like, well, now that you've done this, now we decide that you do this. And that's really, I mean, it can be bipartisan, but the left, especially, what I've noticed over the last few years is they're control freaks. Like they're like neurotic people that want to micromanage anything. And I've always said it's like a slave master mentality. You know, the way they treat African Americans, where it's like they want to tell you to be down. Like, you need my help. You're weak. You can't do it. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough resources. You've been oppressed. And I, the liberal, will save your life. And without me, you're nothing. And then when you come along like Candace Owens or anybody, Brandon Tatum, whatever you want to say, who says like, hey, you know, I don't think I need your help. Like, I'm just as capable as you. I want to do my own thing. I'm going to help my own community. Like, I don't think we need special rules. I don't think crime should be a thing, you know, regardless of your race. We should stop it. Watch how nasty liberals get. It's like a slave master mentality. If they can't control you and push you down and relegate you to like serf status as an African American, they don't like you. They only like black people they can control and that bow down to their creepy social agenda. And it's the same thing with COVID. That slave master mentality has now translated to society. They want you in a mask like an animal. They want you to bow down. They want to force injections into your arm. They don't care how obese you are. They don't care if the obesity rate is the driver in the deaths and the hospitalizations. Science means nothing to them. It's all politics. It's all control. They have a slave master mentality. So, you know, someone like that, they need to be, you know, respectfully stopped. So I think that's like, you know, at the end of the day, I don't see these people stopping because it's like a whole mental thing that they can't figure out yet, where it's nice to help people. It's nice to help low-income communities. It's nice to help Black people and Hispanics and women. But at a certain point, everything's a mindset. And I think Kanye West really understood that when he said slavery was a choice. And I watched somebody get mad at him and Candace Owens, and I click on their thing and they have a mask in their profile picture. So I'm thinking to myself, you got mad when Kanye West said slavery was a choice, and now you're wearing a mask in a profile picture. Like, you are kind of what Kanye was talking about, where it's a mind control sort of thing. I think it was, I'm trying to think of his name. Marcus Garvey said something along the lines of, you know, once they can't enslave your body anymore, they will enslave your mind. And I think Bob Marley kind of used that quote in a song, where it's true. It's like, now it's all mental. So if they can control you mentally, they can get you to vote for them. They can get you to buy their products. They could get you to destroy your own community. I'm not talking about metaphorically. I'm talking about physically. They get people in Echo Park to beg for homelessness. Echo Park, I used to go there a lot. I mean, it used to be nice. And now the lake has kind of been just destroyed by homelessness. And it's just like it's not a nice scene, as nice as it could be. And the police came in and they were like, hey, we're going to actually move these homeless people to a house or something. And the liberals are literally begging for like a more unsafe area. They want it. They want this filth. They want those people there. It's like, I mean, what, you know, it's like they're obsessed with crime and violence and degeneracy. It's like, you don't have to live that way. You know, not everybody wants to live in a community. And then all of a sudden they get them all riled up over the George Floyd thing. And you got a bunch of liberals just destroying their own neighborhood, destroying West Hollywood, destroying Santa Monica. I mean, you couldn't even go to a restaurant. This really disgusts me. I don't mean to ramble on because I do have to go in a few minutes, but I lived in Hollywood. I lived near West Hollywood. I knew people who lived in Santa Monica. I lived in LA for 7 years. I lived all over, but I knew the people who ran restaurants. I played soccer. My whole team was mostly Hispanic, and there's one Italian guy. That Italian guy owned a restaurant, and he would always tell me, as an immigrant, you know, it's getting crazy. Like, there's homeless people just coming, spitting all over my restaurant. Like, it's not safe anymore. I knew the Thai restaurant. I knew the Asian family that worked there that like was really nice and made really good food. The people who made our community special, and these degenerate, hypocrite losers, anytime they got mad at the television, they just go out and start burning down coffee shops and destroying buildings and stuff. So it's like, it's not even like, oh my God, their politics are bad. I'm like, these are disgusting, evil people. Like, they need to be confronted and they need to be called out because they're total hypocrites. They go on Twitter saying they love immigrants, and then they burn down a bunch of immigrant buildings. They say, you know, Asian lives matter, and then they destroy a Thai restaurant. These people are sicko demons. Like, they're out of control. And to be quite frank, oh, there's Asian hate. It's like, yeah, no Asian elder should live in a high crime liberal area. You want your Asian elders to stop getting attacked, move them to a nice, safe area. And if you move to that nice, safe area, you should check the demographics of where you moved and where you were and see if there's any correlation between the safety. So you're not going to be safe around liberals. Now they're talking about stop Jewish hate because Jewish people are getting attacked in Beverly Hills and in Los Angeles. Listen, I don't want anyone to get attacked, but the reason they're getting attacked in Beverly Hills and in New York City, is because New York City is not as safe as it used to be. And Los Angeles is not as safe as it used to be. And it's not safe for multiple reasons, but one of the driving ones is the politics. It's the Democrats. So it's hard for me to, feel super bad. I feel bad for innocent victims because I don't know their politics, but it's like, as a community, both those communities, Jewish and Black, they both vote overwhelmingly Democrat. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely Israel-Palestine. It's a sensitive issue, but I guarantee you could have that debate in a nice area and no one's going to attack you. But if you live in Los Angeles or New York City, I wouldn't want to be there. No, I love New York City. I grew up around it. I love Los Angeles. I lived there for 7 years. I don't want to be anywhere near New York City in the next 5 years. I don't want to be anywhere near Los Angeles. I love Los Angeles. I wouldn't even go to Beverly Hills. It's not that bad, but people are getting robbed in broad daylight. Jews are getting attacked at night. It's not just Palestinians. It's like liberal cities. It's the fact that you're not in a nice or safe environment. And all of that trickles down into every fight, whether it's political, racial. You got to clean the city up. So, these are the things that I saw when I was in Los Angeles. And these people disgust me because they have a slave master mentality. They want to control your mind. They want to tell you that they're below them. And then when they keep everything crappy, when you actually try to make it better, pull people up by their bootstraps, get them the mindset that can succeed, that's when they freak out and they want to keep it that way. And it's the same thing before I leave with places like South Side of Chicago. You'll never hear a liberal talk about South Side of Chicago. Black people are being murdered all the time. Every weekend, it's like 10 deaths, 13 deaths, 14 deaths, kids dying. I mean, in these cities, there's kids dying all the time. If you go to one of their schools, I've done it was some sort of mentorship program where I just played basketball and hung out with the kids in one of these like super high crime cities one time. And it's just sad because in the school, you have all these dead kids. They're like, rest in peace, rest in peace. Kids are dying in these, high crime Black neighborhoods all the time. But you'll never hear a liberal talk about it because they don't care about Black kids and they don't care about Black people. They care about political control. They care about power, and they care about telling you that you need them for help. They don't want to empower you. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a life. They hate teaching you to fish. They want to just give you fish so you're dependent on them. That's their whole political scheme. And in, Chicago, yes, it's a poverty issue. Yes, it can be a jobs issue, which has been destroyed by the pandemic. But I would say mostly it's a mindset issue because there's poor places in the world and there's poor places in America that don't have the income, but the crime rate is not so high. It's a culture. It's a mentality. If you watch YouTube videos of what's going on the South Side of Chicago, it's like being in Afghanistan. These people are at war with each other. Gang violence, street violence. They're in a different world. Like you would not survive a month there. You'd get shot because that's their whole culture. So it's deeper than just a financial thing. You could pour $1 billion in, or Jeff Bezos can pour $1 trillion in, or whoever has that much money, and it wouldn't fix it. They could spend that much money in Chicago and you would not change the crime rate or drastic, because it's a mindset and a cultural issue. So you got to get to the root of it. But when you get to the root of it, liberals freak out. It's almost like they want people to die. It's almost like they want the crime rate to be high. It's almost like they want Echo Park to be disgusting. They do. They freak out and scream. If I lived in Echo Park, I'd be like, thank God they're cleaning up this park. It's not because I hate homeless people. It's because I lived in Los Angeles. These people in the tents, these are not, hey, can I just have some food or a job? These are not safe people. Some are nice, to be honest, but a lot of it's growing. It's a whole, you don't want to raise a family in Echo Park with all these kids. You can't walk there at night. I used to work near MacArthur Park. I don't know if people know that in Los Angeles. I didn't even know because I was broke and young, but that's apparently one of the more dangerous areas for Hispanic street crime. I had no idea. I took a bus or a train there every day. I walked 15 blocks back and forth every day. I didn't even notice because I was broke and young and I just had to make money, whatever. But it's you walk through MacArthur Park at night, it's certainly not safe. if you had an option to make it safer and you lived in that neighborhood, you should want it to be safer. Who wants to walk through that? I used to walk through MacArthur Park at night and act crazy. I used to act crazy because I was hoping people thought I was a homeless person so I didn't get robbed. Like I would act like a homeless person so they just thought I was like a weirdo. Like, because it's some characters in there where you're like, this is crazy. It's like being in a zombie movie. But in general, those are my thoughts about that. But if you really cared, we got to get to the root of stuff. And with this mentality, I don't think these people are ever going to stop until enough people say no. It's like a kid scribbling on the wall with crayons and they just keep doing it. They're like, I'm a non-binary. It's like, I don't care what sex you are. I don't care what gender you say you are. I don't care what your sexuality is. But at a certain point, these people are just like, they're just all over the place. Like, I'm going to do this with my life. And it's like, that's fine. But are you going to combine that with like logic and reason? Or are you just going to just do whatever and run all over the place and just let your city fall to the ground? And then when somebody tries to stop you, call them all sorts of names. It's like, I don't know. It's like this culture is insane to me. I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's like you have too much time on your hands. Like, have you ever been poor? Have you ever lived in a country where like you couldn't find a job? If you were poor and you couldn't find a job, I don't think you would walk around telling people what pronouns you are, regardless of who you think you are. It's like, that's a privileged ideology. Like, I'm this. It's like, go try to be broke in Mexico and see if anybody cares like what you say. It's like, just who cares? Like, my name is this. Okay, that's your name. People don't even have to call you your name. In school, people used to make fun of me when I was in high school. They used to call me Dodgeball because I look like the guy from Dodgeball, Justin Long or whatever. It's like, I can't make someone call me my name. They're like, hey, Dodgeball. It's like, people don't even have to call you your actual name, let alone the pronoun. It's like, it's such a privileged, spoiled, rotten ideology outside of like peace and love. It's like, you guys have way too much time on your hands, way too self-absorbed. And when it comes to actually like cleaning the community, making it safer, making it profitable, allowing businesses to thrive, helping the Asians and the Indians and the Hispanics and the whites and the blacks, everybody who lives in your community, actually helping them thrive and keep afloat, you do the opposite. You're just always hurting people and destroying and acting like you're virtuous. I'm not buying it. And luckily, I know how to combat it because I don't agree with anything they're doing. So with the mask, with all this stuff, you could bow down to these people, you could cave. But in my experience, the more you bow down and the more you cave and the more you give in, the more they take, because they're not operating on a moral playground. They're operating on a give me, give me, give me. They're control freaks. They want more taxes. They want more power. They want more control. They want you locked down. They want to shut down your business. They want to shut down your gym. There's a correlation politically between the right and the left. The left just wants to take all the time. All they do is just control, 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 control in the most degenerate ways. So I don't think these guys are going to stop. And if enough people respectfully and peacefully just say, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to do this. And if you try to take my money and my job away for doing it, I'm not a legal advisor, but I would personally be like, I guess I'm going to have to talk to a lawyer because, I'm not going to allow you to like kick me out of school or my job for the crime of being healthy. They're trying to make it illegal to be healthy. You could be 500 pounds eating Krispy Kreme donuts every day, and they'll let you go to work and call you healthy. And if you're a fit, jacked bodybuilder who just doesn't want to be on pharmacy products every other week, they'll say that you're unhealthy and it's like toxic danger zone. These people are out of their mind, and I don't subscribe to it. Last super chat real quick. Paul Contreras said, did you watch Syrian Girl's latest episode on Israel? It's pretty deep. I have not, but I like Syrian Girl from what I've seen on Twitter. I don't know that much about her. I'll check it out. And, I think there's going to be, some debates happening between people. I'll talk about it later this week, but I would love to see a honest debate on that topic. The problem is everybody's so emotional and hateful that, it's very hard to get to the core of what's going on there. Cause I don't trust either party with that story because everybody it's so ugly and toxic. But, that's the story for today. God bless you guys. I'm out. Like I said, before I leave, dreamrare.com. That's where you can get the God bless hats. Thank you so much. Hopefully I could build this into like a bigger thing. I mean, it's been great for now, but I love the hats. The quality is great for the hats, the beanies. And I think it's a very positive message. If you wear it, it's not so inflammatory. You're not screaming at someone with your clothes where they're going to like yell at you. It's a calming thing. A lot of people always compliment me. I love your hat. I love your hat. It's a good vibe. The God bless hats at godblesshats.com or dreamrare.com. stayintouchwithme.com, all one word, for email list. And Telegram is DreamRareChat at DreamRareChat. That's what it is. I'm grateful to be here. Another day on Facebook, another day on YouTube is a blessing. I don't know where they're going with this. Clearly, they love the censorship and the rules. And I'm still really grateful. And I'm just like blown away that I've been able to do this well, especially on Facebook. Like, you know, although I had all these people mad at me, like NPR and stuff, it still feels like a major accomplishment, a game I didn't know I was playing. But when they said I had the #1 post about Johnson & Johnson, more than New York Times, CNN, they think they're smearing me. And I'm like, dang, that's pretty cool. I didn't even know I did that. So it's like, I didn't even know I was playing a game. But, you know, among all the censorship, among all the pushback, the fact that I've been able to even be here and they're still, you know, because I'm pretty smooth with it. But I mean, these people are just completely immoral. No offense. They don't even play by their own rules. Fact check, you can't say that. And a year later, they apologize. So I'm like, I know I'm not doing anything wrong. However, I just know these people don't actually care about what's right. So I'm just grateful to be here, and hopefully it continues and we make some good videos and change some minds in a positive way. So that's what it is. Have a good weekend. I'll be back soon. Thanks for joining as always. Thanks for sharing, and especially thanks for the shares. I think that's what drives everything. Like I don't have advertisement money. Clearly, I don't think I'm favored in any algorithms that I know of. So I think it's the shares. It's like the raw human power of just people sharing regardless of what they do or not. And that translates to all this tyrannical stuff. It's a numbers game. If enough people step up, there's not an algorithm or, you know, corrupt business that can get away with it. They prey on the fact that everybody will just allow them to do so. So, you know, stand up for yourself, stay strong, stay peaceful, stay blessed. Have a good weekend. I'm out.